Can you mute us in the meantime? Oh,
It's me.
we weren't muted.
Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sometimes on Sunday podcast. Happy 2023. We hope you are all healthy and well. Peace and prosperity to all of you guys. We have a special guest here today, kicking off the new year with a tarot reader, intuitive guide, modern mystic, giving tarot readings, meditations, yoga that'll help you connect to your soul. Please welcome Nikki Refroe.
Thank you guys so much for having me on your podcast. I'm super excited to be here.
Hey, Nikki. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
How's the new year treating you so far?
It's treating me well. It's pretty slow in the best way, but I'm excited for 2023. I hope it's better than 2022 and 2021 and 2020. All those past years that have been kind of a hot mess. So I'm excited.
Nice. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, I assume you're referring to COVID and all the craziness with that.
Can you repeat that question one more time?
I assume that you're referring to COVID and all the craziness with that.
Yes, definitely. I had COVID a few times. I was teaching at a high school, which was definitely impacted by the pandemic. So I'm excited for what it seems to be on the up end from the pandemic. And yeah, just looking forward to being with people, living life, and not being sick.
Yeah, I hear you. What did you teach?
I taught dance and yoga.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Any particular kind of dance, Nikki?
Yeah, I taught a lot of contemporary, ballet, jazz, more so those concert styles. I wish I taught more like ballroom and hip hop, but that's just like not what I was trained in.
So you have formal training in ballet?
Yeah, and contemporary dance. So I got my BFA, my undergrad degree in dance and performance, and it was a lot of modern, a lot of ballet.
Where'd you get your BFA from?
University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana.
Oh, okay. Fighting Illini.
Yeah, Fighting Illini. ILLI.
Great.
What is a modern mystic? How would you describe that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would describe it as someone who is very much in touch with their spirituality and what that means for them. So I know for every single person, being spiritual or religious can look very, very different. And so someone who's a modern mystic is, taking, what spirituality means in the modern world and shaping it to work for them, and really kind of standing in their power and relying on their intuition and their faith in whatever form that is to kind of guide them in life.
Nice. And what is the type of journey you take people on to try to help reconnect them to their inner selves?
Yeah, so I come from the belief that we are all intuitive. We're all, if you want to use the word psychic, we all have those abilities to really connect to ourselves and to universal energy or higher source or God or essence, whatever you want to call it. And so I try to help people connect back to that through meditation, through yoga, through doing the things that really help you to slow down and tune inward and see like what comes from that. Because I think it's like an innate, like within ourselves ability, but oftentimes because life is so busy and chaotic, it's really hard to tune in and to get quiet, to listen to those like soul whispers. And so my goal is to really help people to find what that means for them, whether that is yoga or, people can meditate, like washing the dishes, walking their dog. What can you do to like turn back in and listen and get quiet?
Nikki, I was doing some internet prowling because I was looking on your Instagram page about you, because I know you have like classes, right? Where you help people get in touch with their spiritual side, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
I was hoping you had like a YouTube page because I got really interested in it, but then I didn't see one. So I was like, did you ever think about getting a YouTube channel?
Yes, I have. During the pandemic, my husband was like, you should totally do a YouTube and like start putting out videos. And for some reason, the idea of having to like film and like edit is so daunting to me. that I was like, you know what, I can't even. And so I did end up creating a program where it's like a 4-week program, and each week you get a yoga video, meditations, journaling, a tarot reading, and it's supposed to help you connect. And even doing that was like so much editing, so much of that like tedious stuff, which I'm sure you guys like know with having a podcast, like making sure the text sounds good, making sure the video looks good, making sure you look good, all of these things was just like a lot. So just even doing that program, I was like, all right, that's about as much as I can do. But yeah, multiple people have been like, you should totally get a YouTube. You should totally start putting out videos. So maybe one day when I have a little bit more space, that might be a thing.
Yeah, I know it's time consuming, but yeah, I was really interested. I'm going to try to look into your more of your program there.
Yeah, I try to post quite a bit on Instagram so that there's like free resources for people. Me and my best friend actually used to have a podcast. I think it's still on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, where we talk about spiritual stuff. It's called Spiritual Podcast, and we would drink spirits and alcohol while we talked about spiritual stuff. So it got a little, yeah, it was really cute. But like, yeah, so that's like another resource that we talked about a lot of stuff on. But yeah, I try to post as much as I can on Instagram because I know I want to make this as accessible as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, yeah, no. You know what? I was really curious about how you started with that. Like, did it happen when you were young? Is there like, because I know you said something that it's something that we all have. Is there something that you felt within you, or something that you kind of like vibes that you felt, or you know, you talk about spirituality, any kind of, I don't know, feelings or what is it, like an experience that you had that kind of caused it, spurred it?
Yeah, no, great questions. So yeah, I definitely experienced a lot of this like spiritual connection when I was young. I always was like into witchy stuff and reading a lot of witchy books, getting like spell books for children, which is so strange, but luckily my parents were okay with it. And I grew up Catholic, and so I did already have like this connection to religion and like God and that spiritual faith. But I did feel a disconnect with the Catholic Church and a lot of the things that were being preached in that institution. So for me, that I took that as, how can I make my spirituality something that works for me, that is inclusive, that feels very connected, and but also like really rooted in like feminine power, which is like, you know, I don't want to say like witchcraft, but like oftentimes that's kind of the connection there. And so that's where really I was drawn to like the magical things. I always just thought like we were magical, and there's so much beyond who we are and like what we are able to see. And I knew that from a child. When I was a child, I did have an experience seeing a ghost when I was a child. And it's something that like kind of runs in my family, which is so funny and interesting because my family didn't really talk about it that much. You know, my grandma would tell me ghost stories of ghosts that she saw. And then, you know, as I got older, some of this stuff kind of like died away. You know, I like went to college and danced and partied and did, you know, normal human stuff. And when my grandmother passed away, I was 24, 25. And I saw her. She like came to me. I had been getting a lot of signs, and I like saw her in the physical. And it was like so eye-opening, and I just like knew it wasn't a dream. I knew it was real. And I told this to a family member, and my family member, my aunt, was like, yeah, that happened to your grandmother when her mom died. That exact same thing happened. And so there was something that kind of like ran through the family that was just never talked about. So as I continued to like dig deep into this, I did a mediumship class this past year. I, did my yoga teacher training 5 or 6 years ago. And even that, like how we're so connected to energy and like the chakras, and, being really, really in tune really led me on my journey. And one other experience that comes to mind, I was at the doctor's office. I was in middle school, and while I was waiting, the nurse who was working with me brought out a tarot deck and pulled some cards for me. And I was like, oh my God, what is this like magical, cool thing? I have to get my hands on one. And so went to Borders the next day and bought a tarot deck. And so that's where we are, just kind of like kept it going through the years, even though there's been like times where it was on and off. And now it just feels like very much a part of me. And it feels like something that I should be putting out there in the world and sharing with others. And and helping people to see that, like, while your experiences might be different than mine, there might be some things that are similar. There might be some connection to spirit or some stories in your family line that you've never heard before that will show you that, like, yeah, there's something that exists beyond these physical bodies that we have.
You said the school nurse pulled out?
No, it wasn't a school nurse. No, I'm sure a school
right.
nurse would have gotten fired. No, it was at my mom's a doctor, and so it was at her clinic
wow.
that the nurse pulled out a tarot deck, and yeah, it was really cool. It was very shocking and very strange, but
do you think she pulled it out? She showed it to you because maybe she felt some connection with you, like another spiritual type of connection.
Yeah, I would hope so, because I'm sure if she pulled the deck out for a lot of kids, they would be like, "What the hell are you doing?" Or a parent would be like, "Yeah, yeah, what is this?" But yeah, she pulled it out for me, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And yeah, that like really started my tarot journey.
Interesting. Do you have any connection with that nurse, or do you see her around, or was it just that one time?
No, that was like a one-time thing. Yeah, I can't remember. Besides that, the last time I would have seen her, that probably was the one and only time. So it's very, very strange situation.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about witchcraft a little bit there, and you're also rooted in Catholicism, right? And you made the transition over to tarot card reading. Was there like any friction with you or relatives who were really religious in the family, being Catholic? They kind of don't really like venture into that area, and you get like, are there any misconceptions that maybe they may have about you doing tarot readings?
That's such a great question. So my family was super open, super progressive. They were always very down for all the things that I did and continue to do. So I never felt any conflict within my family with others, but I did feel conflict within myself. I remember when I must have, again, been like in middle school or high school, I was reading a book about Wicca, which is a different religion about witchcraft and connecting to nature, and was like, oh my God, am I going to have to give up my Catholicism, my connection to God for this? And felt very, very conflicted about it. But the more I grew and the more I read and learned, I realized that they can both exist within a person. So I can believe in God, but also feel this connection to the universe and feel this connection to spirit. And I haven't read the Bible. I really should have, but I know there are verses in the Bible that talk about, being able to do divination practices and how that is very holy and very, very sacred. It doesn't demonize it. So there are actually like threads through Catholicism that link a lot of the divinatory or witchcraft occult-like things within that religion too. But the thing that I felt most conflicted about is how Catholicism has been kind of shaped and what it has been told that it has to represent, and made by, usually white men who've said, like, this is what this means. And I think our generation, and for me, I'm really figuring out like how to break what that means and kind of really parse apart how these things can all exist at the same time. So long story short, I felt conflict within me, but with my family, they were always like surprisingly like really down, really chill, and yeah, really supportive.
That's good.
So what you're saying in essence too is that it's not all bad, like how everybody else says it is. You're trying to break the barrier, like it is. There's a spiritual side, a good spiritual side to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Used in a good way, in a good form. Then
you're talking about witchcraft?
Because it's part of it's in the Bible. She just read. I mean, I haven't ever read the Bible like cover to cover like that, but I have heard of like different scriptures, passages like that as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't think it's bad. I think it's really just like how people have been made to believe it is. I did a tarot event a few weeks ago, and people were scared to have me read their cards. They were like, oh my God, I don't know what this is. What if you tell me something bad? Are there going to be spirits around? All these things. Like, people just have an idea that it's like very much simply like not true, because I do believe that we can all, if we take the time to really get connected with ourselves, we can develop these intuitive psychic gifts. We all have that, but we're told that, we can't do that, or that it's scary, or that it's evil. Where it's really not. It's really just like a connection back to ourselves, because I think that like God is everywhere. And so that essence is within us too. And so that's really what we're connecting to. But I think people sometimes have like a different view of like what it is.
Right, that makes sense.
Do you ever have like anybody freak out from a reading that you've given them?
I was just gonna ask that. I don't want to put no shade.
No, I truly believe that the messages that come through are meant to be heard at that time, so the person's ready for them. I've had people cry. I've had, I have never had anyone freak out, but I've had people be like, wow, that was shocking that came through. Especially when I did my mediumship course, and I'm not offering mediumship. So just in case anyone doesn't know, mediumship is connecting to past loved ones and spirits on the other side. And in the course, we have to do practice readings every week. And I did have some crazy readings where you partner up with someone and I would tell them, oh yes, this person is your uncle and he died from alcoholism, like all these crazy things. Like I would never know, like I just wouldn't know. There's no way I could have known. That's what the spirit's telling me. And they're like, wow, that's insane. But no one's been like, no one's had like a bad freak out. People have been shocked, but not a bad freak out. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I have a question. Like, have you ever had a reading where you see something in the cards that's really like messed up and you don't know how to tell that person? Like you're like, holy shit, this is terrible news.
I've seen some stuff in the cards. I wouldn't say that it's terrible. I like to think that the cards, all of them, even the scary cards like the Tower or the Double or Death that people, sometimes get scared about, there's medicine within them. There's always a part of that that's coming up for a reason. And the cards are really just showing the whole human experience. So there are times when there are messages where I'm like, all right, how can I share this message in a kind way? Especially like sometimes trauma will come up. And so it's kind of like, all right, how can I ask questions versus saying like, you experience this trauma? I can ask, did you experience a trauma around this? You can kind of like tread lightly so that people can share as much as they want. But oftentimes the messages that are going to come through, you're meant to hear them. So there's normally not something that is so incredibly shocking or scary or something that you're not ready to yet, feel or embody. It usually is like very aligned with like what you need at that time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the death card doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna die. It's like something coming to an end, right? And like
Exactly. Yes.
You, right?
Exactly. So the death card is actually one of the most misunderstood cards. And I love it. It's one of my favorite cards because it does mean that what is ready to end in your life, it's time for you to let it go. We're as humans, we're so used to holding on to everything and wanting to have it all, which sometimes we can have it all, but sometimes things have run their natural course. And it doesn't mean your life is, going to end by any means. I've never pulled the death card and thought I'm going to die or someone's going to die, but it does mean that something's going to end. And if you look, I'm like trying to find the death card so I can show you guys, but if you look at it, there's like a sun rising in the background and you can see that like something new is being born from that death. So it's the ending of something so that something else can be born. There's a rebirth part of it too. So it is very transformational. It is quite a beautiful card. But yeah, people often get freaked out about it.
Yeah.
They
Thanks
should
for
replace that.
enlightening us.
They should replace that card with the cover of that movie Apocalypto. Just a little bit more.
Yeah.
The death card's a little unsettling. But
Yeah, it's unsettling.
Yeah, it is unsettling. And if it depends on like what kind of decks you use. So I have like maybe 10 tarot decks and each deck has a different interpretation of how they want to express that visual. So some are quite scary and others like literally a skeleton sometimes and he's walking over like dead bodies. And then there's other cards where there's just, really scary. And there's other cards where there's like...
How would you know which deck to use on someone? Because you said you have very like different ones. Do they vary? Like, is it...
Yeah, no, good question. So I have one deck that I use like very much for me. It's like my very first tarot deck. It's very like worn down. It feels really good. But I use that one for me. All the other ones. So it depends on what kind of reading someone's doing. If they're doing a shorter reading, I might let them choose what deck I pull from. Whatever one they're called to. But if it's a longer reading, I often will use quite a few decks. And then again, I might like let them choose or I'll just see like what I'm called to. But it's a very intuitive part of the practice of like choosing what deck do I think is going to best support this person at this time. Or what deck do they think is going to best support them and just like going with it. Because for all the decks, they all have 78 cards. They're all the same messages per se, but there's just different ways of looking at them and different symbolism and different interpretations that you can use for those decks.
Mm-hmm. Wow. How do you prepare yourself for a reading? Like somebody comes to you, they want to get a reading. Is there something you got to do to prepare yourself for it, or just kind of bust out the deck and go?
That's a great question. And this has evolved as I've evolved. So when I first started doing readings, I would have to like make sure I had like a good 30 minutes before a reading, come sit, would like make sure everything's clean, light some candles, clear my space, meditate. I did so much stuff. And now it's like, I trust my connection to spirit a lot more, that I know that it's going to show up. I don't have to, kind of prepare unnecessarily to connect because I know it's going to show up, even if I just have 5 minutes. So what I like to do now is give myself like maybe 10, 15 minutes before. And I'm a very organized person, so I do like my space to still be clean. I might light a candle. If I have time, I might not. But I will kind of just like sit maybe for a few moments in meditation just to like clear myself and then go from there. But I've also done readings where, I have 1,000 jobs. So I might be running from teaching a yoga class to a reading, and I might have like literally 3 minutes. And yeah, I'll take maybe 3 deep breaths and be like, all right, I'm connecting with spirit. I trust the messages are going to come through. I trust that this person's going to get what they need at this time, and then just go into it.
Okay. Now you posted not too long ago about past life regression. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So I am not a past life regressionist. I haven't been trained in doing them. I would love to get trained in it, but the idea behind it is that, our soul is in this body, in this life, just this once, but it's lived so many other lifetimes before it's here. And each time we come into a life, each time we're born again, we are here to learn the lessons that we might not have learned in a past life, or that we've chosen to learn this time because we were focusing on other lessons in the past. So this past life regression was done by a friend who's also a tarot reader. She's super amazing. She's also a therapist. So a lot of same things that I like to do. And she pretty much like walks you through a hypnosis meditation. So you get to this place where you are like not asleep, but you're almost there. You're laying down, and she starts to walk you through a past life. And it's your soul's, I don't want to say responsibility, but your soul decides like what lessons are you meant to kind of reflect on each time you do one. So each time you do a past life regression, something different entirely might come up. I did one a long time ago, and I saw myself as someone who whose mother had died of an overdose, and then I had also died as an overdose, and all of these like dysfunctional family things. And currently I do have a family member who is addicted to a substance, and it's causing, of course, a lot of family issues or conflict, or just like turmoil. And so like seeing what I had experienced in a past life kind of like made me realize the lesson of I can't help someone on a path if they're not willing to do that work. I have to be myself and show up in a way that's going to model and support them, but they have to make those choices, and I can't take that responsibility. And so this past life regression was a very different experience, a completely different life, and I saw a lot of different things. And so each time you do it, the idea is to like take something different away from it that will help you feel more supported in this lifetime, or just kind of remind you that, the challenges that you're experiencing, the obstacles that you're experiencing, they're here for a reason. They're here to help us grow. So what can you learn from the lessons? It's kind of like giving yourself a chance to take a step back and see things from a bigger picture and from like a soul's perspective. Yeah, lots of crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot to take in there.
Yeah.
So like you got the tarot readings, right? And witchcraft, and you could say past life regression is another way to kind of search, right, introspectively and all that. What other tools do you use to kind of tap in?
Yeah, so for me, I try to keep it simple. Of course, I do tarot for myself every single day. And so that's something that I like is very, very grounded in my practice. I also like to do yoga and meditate. So those are two of my things. Like I said, I was a dancer growing up. And so moving my body is so important and so spiritual and helps me connect back to myself, and also just like helps me have fun, which I think is another thing our souls are meant to be doing while we're here, to have fun, to experience life, to feel alive. So yoga, meditation, dancing, and tarot are really the things that I like to dive into.
Nikki, I heard yoga isn't as easy as it looks. I always wanted
You know,
to take a class, but they said it's tough.
so it depends. It depends on the teacher. It depends on the class. There are some classes that are very challenging. There are some teachers who don't give you options and choices. So I'm not one of those teachers. I'm like, I want everyone to do yoga. If I'm teaching you something that's too hard, here's another option that you can do instead so that you still feel supported, so that you're still involved in the class, you're still working out your body. But yeah, there are some classes that are extremely challenging that I don't go to. I don't go to those either. I'm quite intimidated by them. But yeah, no, yoga, it is for everyone. You just got to find like the right teacher and the right style. But I do think there are a lot of places that that offer that. Because I know you guys are in Berwyn, right? Are all of you guys in Berwyn?
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
around Berwyn.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, there's a studio in Berwyn. I want to say it's on 31st and Oak Park Avenue that I teach at Ahimsa, and they have amazing classes, and the teachers are really great. And there are classes there for everybody, you know, like beginner friendly classes.
Oh, wow. Like intermediate, right? Intermediate, because how many classes? What kind of class do you teach? Is it like mid, intermediate, mid, or is it like the full on?
Yeah, so I teach only one class there, unfortunately, right now, just because I'm doing so many other things. So the class that I teach is Vinyasa, and it's kind of like an intermediate class. And so because it's intermediate, I do offer like beginner friendly stuff in it, and I also offer some advanced stuff. So yeah, that one's kind of like a mixed bag. It depends on who shows up. But then there are other classes there too. I used to teach a beginner's yoga class there, and you know, people would come never taking yoga, and so that was like such a fun class to teach. But they also have other classes too that are really, really amazing. But I do teach like an intermediate, advanced, but beginners can come. Beginners are more than welcome.
Yoga?
I've
I
never
actually-
done it.
I actually did yoga at Ahimsa before.
Oh, I love that.
It was very straining on me because I am not flexible at all. So it was tough, but it was you know what I will say, it's very calming. And it really makes you just kind of step back from everything, and it's like a little mini vacation in that sense. You know, you kind of break away from the routine and the hustle and bustle and the stress, and kind of just stop and chill out.
I'm fairly flexible actually for being a big
Yeah.
guy. For being a big guy, yeah, I can. I'm not like
We
super.
should try it.
I used to
We
be
should
able to
go.
throw. I don't know if this is a yoga move, but I used to be able to throw this right leg over my head. I can't do that anymore. Like, I can't
Nikki, is that yoga? Is that yoga, Nikki?
That is yoga.
I was doing this before I even knew it.
Natural, no, I can't.
Not anymore though. This thing here is getting in the way.
I yoga once, and it was a fucking disaster. I went into it. Okay, I went into it like just with like the same mindset as anyone else, was just thinking that like, oh, it's fucking easy. Who cares? All you're doing is stretching, right? Nah, that shit ain't.
No, it's way more than stretching.
No.
Way more than stretching.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is
way more
tough.
than stretching.
I'm not flexible at all, and that was the hard part for me. But I did enjoy the calming aspect of it. Yeah.
Is it hot? I feel like it's gonna be hot in there.
I think it needs to be steamy, right, Nikki? That's the
Oh, they
temperature.
have
It
they
doesn't
have the
have to
ones.
be.
They have the ones, right? Yeah, they have you. You guys offer classes where it could be really hot in there, and you know, sweating extra bunch.
Yeah.
But
George hates to be
Yeah.
hot. He's always just
I
saying
hate
it's
it.
fucking hot.
I don't like getting sweat. I'm a warm blooded person, and I don't like to sweat. So I have to like, I don't know. I don't like rushing.
He'll take the class
I'm
with
rushing
the
all day
AC.
though.
He'll take the class with the AC.
With the AC on, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want that sauna one. I just can't.
No, me too. I hate hot yoga classes. I run very hot, and so I do not take the hot yoga classes. I'm like, turn the AC up, make it as cold as possible. That's how I like to move my body. But I totally feel
Nice.
I wish I was someone who did the hot yoga, because it makes it a lot more challenging for sure.
As far as meditation, that could get like, you could go down a rabbit hole as far as meditation, right? Like astral projection and all that stuff. Have you heard of Wim Hof, the breathing technique guy? That he says that
I might have. Okay, go
yeah,
ahead.
he's a bearded dude. He's the one that does those like extreme cold kind of challenges where it'll be like he's in sub-zero temperatures and his body's like normal, like if it was
Mhm.
room temperature. They even do like the thermal cam, and it's like he's all warm,
Mhm.
and people can't explain it. And there was this one study, the experiment that they did on him, and in 2014, where they actually they injected him and a few of his, I guess, students with like some endotoxin,
Mm-hmm.
and they were able to kind of fight it off through their breathing techniques. It's like it's supposed to be
They poisoned them.
they poisoned them, but it didn't do anything to them because they're able to kind of activate their
Like their adrenaline.
emphatic system and all that, and kind of stop it from happening. Like that's how in tune they go into their like to their bodies and with the breathing, and it's supposed to be some like really supernatural stuff that they can do with through that. Have you ever heard of that stuff? Like,
Yeah, I have heard of that. I've never practiced it. I'm like keeping it as simple as I possibly can, but that is something that like my husband would totally know more about. He does some like breathing exercises that are like quite intense, where he's like holding his breath for like multiple minutes, and I'm like, that sounds really wild. I'm gonna let you do that by yourself. I'm gonna breathe over here, my deep breaths that aren't that crazy. But yeah, no, I've heard of that, and it is so crazy, and I think it kind of points to like the fact that we're more powerful than we know, and like if we're able to like tap into these things that might seem really crazy or might seem really out there, we have the ability to kind of like change our bodies. You know, like we're not just our bodies. There's so much more that goes into it. But it's easy to forget that we're not just our bodies.
yeah, there was also I heard about this one. I get into like conspiracy theories a lot and stuff. There was this one CIA. It's like a report called the Gateway Project, where they were kind of finding people to delve into that, like to how to astral project, and they were
I heard
able
of that.
yeah, and they were able to have people. They found people that were able to locate like different, people that they couldn't find. Like somebody was wanted, and then they'll go and locate that person.
Like Professor X's Cerebro.
Yeah, it was insane. Like if you read the report, there's a lot of wonky stuff in there because we're not really knowledgeable in that aspect. But you read that report, and it's some crazy stuff that it gets into. How they could astral project and how they can do all these incredible things where I just don't understand how they could do it. And it was the same thing. It was like because I went down the rabbit hole with that Wim Hof stuff, and that's how I found that too. Is that through breathing exercises and getting like your your brain hemispheres in sync. I don't know. It was a lot of esoteric kind of crazy stuff, but supposedly, I mean,
You make me want to take a nap.
I'm sorry. It's really your rabbit hole
It
might
stopped
look,
like it hit him off.
your rabbit hole might look very different from my rabbit hole.
It's definitely not that deep.
Different rabbit holes. Hey, Nikki, your husband does breathing exercises. Does he do the yoga with you too?
Yeah, during the pandemic, we did yoga together all the time. I was teaching a lot of, teaching from home, with my computer set up, and he could be over there doing the same thing while I was teaching. But now that studios are back open and I'm going in, he's not doing it as much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he did like a ton of yoga with me, which was so nice. And I know he still does breathing exercises. He wants me to do this, I think it's the one that you were just talking about where you're doing all this insane stuff and like trying to control your body. And it's a hard pass for me. It sounds really complicated. So yeah.
Now, is it something that you're worried, like if you try it, you'll pass out or something, or you don't believe in that stuff, or how does it, like, why is it a hard pass for you?
Yeah, I just think that I don't need to do that much crazy stuff to have this deep connection to myself. Because he's like, yeah, afterwards I feel, this. And I'm like, yeah, well, I feel that way if I just breathe normally, but like, I'm very intentional. So yeah, I'm like, that just sounds like a lot of work. I'm also kind of lazy. So I'm like, I don't need to do that. Just going to sit over here and breathe normal. But yeah, that's why it's a hard pass.
Different rabbit hole.
Yeah. Different rabbit hole. I'm telling you.
Exactly.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
Different strokes for different folks.
Yes.
Now you're also a therapist, mental health therapist?
Yes. I wear many hats. So I'm finishing up my master's in counseling psychology, and I'll be done in May, which I'm super excited to be done with the program. But right now I'm not taking any more classes. I've done all the classes. I'm just being a therapist. So for the last 9 months of school, you're at a site and you are working as a therapist with real clients, real people, and just kind of like learning through experience. So yes, right now I am working 2 days a week, 20 hours a week being a therapist.
Now, with you being so much into yoga, how many people have you seen that you think would be benefited from doing yoga with whatever they're going through?
Oh my gosh, I think everyone would benefit from doing yoga. If we're gonna be completely honest, every single person, I'm like, yeah, you need to breathe more. You need to create time. But I think the thing is that most people know that they need more time to do yoga, to breathe, to create time in their day that's devoted just to them. But unfortunately, like what I'm seeing with clients is that they're struggling with a broken system. So like the world is not set up for people to have time to do yoga or to afford yoga classes. You know, a lot of studios, a drop-in yoga class is $25. Like that's, for me, I'm like, that's a lot. That's a lot of money when you don't have money, when you have mouths to feed or you have multiple jobs. So yeah, I think everyone that I see could benefit from doing something like this. But the question is, how can we make this more accessible? How can we make society a place where people can devote time to themselves and find those things? And it doesn't have to be yoga. I think, yes, yoga is so magical because you're moving and you're breathing and you're being intentional. But people can do that through dancing. People can do that through, you know, grappling or MMA or like kickboxing. Like people can do that through other things too. But the thing is, like, do people have enough time to do that? Or do people have the money to do that or the resources to watch their children or like whatever the case is? So for a lot of my clients, it's really them not having the space to be by themselves or to do something that's like just for them because they can't afford it or because they have like 5 children at home that they need to take care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're in such a crazy time where it's a go, 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 go. You don't have enough time to even, like you said, stop, breathe, take it all in, you know, reflect upon yourself, all the things that you practice on a daily. I don't think I ever take enough time to do any of that.
Yeah.
Like it's just constant. It's either the kid, it's work, it's cleaning the house, fixing the house, then go to sleep, wake up, do it again over and over and over and over. He's even more busier, and I know you're busy. So I can imagine like the people that have like issues and are going through something on top of all that, not being able to take that time to like, you know, release that energy out of them. That's got to be tough, man. That's got to be really tough.
Yeah, I find it hard to find time to work out even sometimes. You know, I'm not technically a single parent. I'm divorced. So like, you know, a week at a time I'll have my kids, and when I have them, there's really no time for anything. And then on my week off, you know, I'm trying to clean the house, do laundry, do everything I got to do, all the regular stuff. Find time to just chill. I'm too tired to work out, you know, or do, you know, any type of like just breaking away and just chilling out and maybe breathing or whatever. Yeah, it's
Forget
just
to call a buddy to come over.
yeah. Oh yeah, I was supposed to have Hans over the other day, Wednesday, and I'm rushing through the day, and I get home and like I'm finally I sit down with the kids. It's 9 o'clock, and I go shit. I never picked up Hans. I was gonna
Are you
have
gonna
him
help
come
him
by.
clean, Hans?
I was
No,
well, we were gonna hang out, but like either
Yeah, I
way,
was
it
gonna have
didn't
him
really matter. I honestly
running the
was falling
vacuum in
asleep,
here.
and I totally forgot about it anyway
I felt terrible.
because we talked about it in the morning.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
I completely forgot about it, and then like by the time he texted me, it was like 9 o'clock. I'm like, oh, I was fucking falling asleep. So it's like-
Yeah, I felt
He called
so
you.
bad.
He said, "Hans, I got some dishes over here."
I texted him. I'm like, holy shit, I'm so sorry. Look, it's okay, man. I fell asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, Ricky. So you being a mental, I know we touched on this before, but you being a mental health therapist and everything, I'm sure you're familiar with Carl Jung, obviously. Do you resonate a lot with his dream work and shadow work at all, or his the exploration of the shadow at all?
Yes. I love Carl Jung's work, and unfortunately, it's not really taught in grad schools. You have to like go to like special programs to learn about it. So the only stuff I really know is like my own research and the books that I've read. I've read a few of his books, and I follow a lot of people that are tarotists that also follow him and are incorporating psychology with tarot. And yes, I like love his work. I think I've always like been obsessed with dreams, and dream interpretation is just so interesting and it's so complicated. Like we kind of think like we can just get one of those books from the bookstore that tells you all the different things. And that's like very much not the case because it is so personal to our own inner landscape, our own experiences. But yeah, long story short, yes, I think dream work is super important. If my clients ever do talk about dreams, I'm like, well, let's explore that a little bit. And I know a lot of people might not think that dreams are that important, and that's okay too. So it's not something that I like to bring up in treatment with my clients. But if they're like, oh, I had this crazy dream and it made me feel this way, then it's like, well, why did you feel that way? What about the dream made you feel that way? I think our dreams really are a place of our subconscious or our unconscious kind of stepping forward when, like you guys were saying, when you're so busy, we're so on the go, we're taking care of the kids or doing the dishes, those deeper parts of us, even the shadow, the part that's unintegrated, it doesn't even have space to step forward. How can we even feel connected to that place? And then when we're sleeping, when all of those outside external things are away, when we're resting, that is the place for our soul, our subconscious, our shadow to step forward. So yeah, I think Carl Jung's work is so instrumental in psychology, and it's so connected to psychic stuff, to magic, to occult. And he actually did a lot of work with like parapsychology, which is the study of paranormal things. And he doesn't really talk about a lot because he's a scientist. Well, he's dead. He doesn't talk at all anymore. But back then, he did talk about it.
Unless you have some then he'll probably talk.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure he would talk about it a lot. But yeah, so he didn't openly talk about like his paranormal experiences, but he did a lot of work with tarot and symbolism. And tarot really is symbolism. And that's what dream work is. And he also did a lot of work with astrology too, which is like a whole nother modality that is sometimes seen as like really out there and like crazy, but can also have a lot of weight to it too. So yeah, I think that stuff is so interesting. It's so important. I actually had one client who, I don't tell my clients, all the things that I do. And she was like, you might think I'm crazy, but I'm really into like energy and like shamanism and talking about the universe. And I was like, oh girl, you have the right therapist. Yeah. I was like, we can talk about those things and I will not judge you. So yeah, no, it is really interesting. Yeah.
Have you ever experimented with like mushrooms or DMT to help those experiences?
Whew. So I took mushrooms once with a friend. We, two of my best friends, we would go on a girls trip. Was it what?
Was it in Champagne?
No, it wasn't in Champagne. I was like a full adult. Yeah, no, I was out of college. So it was a few years ago, and we would go on girls trips every single year. And then when the pandemic happened, we couldn't travel. And so she was like, let's go on a trip, but like with shrooms. So that's what we did. But I don't know if I didn't take enough or if I didn't eat it right, or I don't know what. I didn't like have a crazy experience. I was ready to like go there, and it just didn't happen for me. I was a little disappointed.
Wow.
So yeah.
We've been flirting with the idea of experimenting with DMT for quite some time now, but we haven't pulled the trigger yet.
It's definitely something I'm super. I mean, I talk to people about it, and then the people that don't know about it think like that sounds like some hard drug stuff. Like, but
you
I've
never did that then.
No,
like never did.
No, it's like hard to come by and all that.
Oh,
like,
DMT or ayahuasca, but ayahuasca, I heard you need to be like with somebody that you trust or like somebody that knows.
There's like shamans that you can go to in Chicago, and they have like these whole experiences that you could go through, and they have it all laid out for you. That you try the ayahuasca, the DMT, and it's supposed to like open your third eye and all this other stuff, and it just seems like it's really interesting. It's not something that I look at it like, oh, I want to get high. It's more like it would be pretty. I'm seriously like curious about the experience, what it would be like.
It doesn't last very long either.
No, it's like
15 minutes.
Your pineal gland
really?
secretes DMT when you're dreaming. So like that's basically what it is. And then you go through the trip, and then you forget, just like a dream. Like when you wake up and you're like, oh, I forgot my dreams. It's the same thing. Like you have to write it down, or recite it or record it.
Yeah.
So that you can remember, because you forget it.
Going back to like the dream thing we were talking about, there was like quite some years ago. Now, don't joke on me. I know this is gonna open up a can of jokes for me. But I used to have a dream about being naked. Really?
I used to have a dream about you being naked too.
Put that camera on my face.
Those are daydreams, Hans.
Oh my goodness! But I did like some research on my dream, about being naked. But it's really like a feeling of being unprepared. Like
Right.
when you have like a naked, you think you
Yeah, like you're like
yeah,
you got a presentation or something, or you're in front of the class, kind
or
of
just
thing.
like in life in general, just being unprepared.
Mhm.
A couple of my dreams were like, I remember I was walking into my high school, and then another one I was walking into like a store, I think.
And
But
you're naked.
Yeah, I was naked.
I remember a lot of my dreams. I've had a couple dreams where there was like this black wolf with these deep green eyes, and I'm in front of my parents' house in the driveway, and there's ice on the driveway, and I'm barefoot and I'm slipping down the driveway, and the wolf was waiting for me right there.
Holy shit!
But
And
did you ever look into what that was?
Yeah,
Like,
because I didn't have shoes on in the dream. I think it was another thing of not feeling prepared.
okay.
But that was one. I've had some where
You need bigger covers, Carlos. Your feet were covered.
Oh,
I had one where like, I've had a lot of dreams about with water. Either it's crashing
Mm.
or it's calm. There's
Uh-huh.
been change. I had a dream where I was like in the top floor of a house, and I would open the window and there's water everywhere, like on the outside of the house.
yeah,
And I would dive in and there's change laying everywhere, and I would just go pick up the change.
wow.
I just have fucked up reoccurring dreams.
I had one time. A friend of ours. This is going on almost. It's crazy to think. Robert Trevino. Almost 20
Talking
years.
about
Reoccurring
this one.
dreams, yeah.
Yeah, a friend of ours had passed away from cancer at a very young age. It was very sad, but I had a dream like a few years down the road after he passed, and I was in this like courtyard, and it was all like this white marble, and it was bright white outside. I mean, it was like super sunny out, right? And in this courtyard, there was all these like pine trees or like this trimmed hedges, and they were all had different shapes, and it was like super pristine, right? Real clean. And there was this one clear walkway going to this building, like almost like if you're walking to a building downtown. And then Hans, it was actually in my dream.
Damn.
And he was walking next to me, and he says, I don't know what I'm going to tell him. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to tell him either. And then we go into the building, and it's just like if you walked into a building downtown, there's somebody at the desk. There's all those elevators down the way, and you get the marble floor, and it's super big, and it's nice in the lobby area right there. I walked into that, and then somebody says, go to that room and to the left. So we go to the elevator area, and there's this one door, just like a regular door. We would open up, and I open up that door, and once I open up that door, there's this huge hall with all these pillars all everywhere, right? Big marble pillars. The further down you look, the darker it got. So like in the immediate area where I was standing, there was enough light. It wasn't like bright, but it's kind of like how it is in here. And there's a desk or a table sitting there with a couple of chairs, and all of a sudden Trevino pops up, and he's walking in out of the darkness. He walks up. I don't know, for whatever reason, there are two beings in my dream next to him, but I can't make them. It's almost like they were like the Predator in camouflage when you can't see them. You just see a silhouette, and they're right there with him. And so I don't remember the exact words we were talking about, but we exchanged words. I said, hey, where did you go? And if you remember, our friend was not the biggest believer in God towards the end. Like he had his skepticism, and he says, I'm kind of in the middle right now.
I don't think it was even toward the end for a long
time. So like he's like, I'm in the middle right now. And then I said, okay. And then I remember saying a couple other things. And as I'm getting ready to leave, he says, I'll see you soon.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And I said, don't come back for me for like 100 years.
And that's like a buddy who went to school with you.
Yeah. I mean, we went from grade school through high school with him.
Yep.
And then here's the other part of that. So as I'm getting ready to leave, these two beings that are next to him, all of a sudden, with the girl I was seeing at the time, I would always take my bag to go sleep over at her house. My bag is on my shoulder, and the beings that are with him, one of them goes to try to take my bag, and I guess they wanted me to go with them. And I took it back because he was like, you coming? And that's when he asked me, he goes, I'll see you soon or whatever. And I said, I'll come back for me later or whatever. And then we leave the room, or I leave the room, and I look behind me, and he's getting into the elevator. And then I walk outside. No, Robert.
Okay.
And then I walk outside back into the courtyard. And then Hans is like, I couldn't get a word in. You did all the talking. And then it all goes white again, and I wake up.
Here's the weird part.
It stuck with me for over 10 years.
This is what immediately I thought of immediately. We just talked about your apnea in a recent episode.
Yeah, I have sleep apnea. Thank you for putting it out
Were
there.
you dying?
Maybe I was probably. Yeah, I knew I had it done.
You
So
know, maybe you were passing away, dude. They're like, not yet.
No,
You had sleep
Yeah.
apnea in high school, you think? Like
I
during that
know.
time?
I know that it was a big issue back then too. So
Mhm.
then up until recently, I basically-
Wow.
I mean, that's a thought there. What George just said, you might have been.
You were fucking dying,
He
bro.
just discredited my entire story. I was trying to have like. Sleep apnea.
Hey,
Trevino
we gotta
was
hit
trying
it
to
with the
wake you up.
comedy a little bit in
He's
there.
trying to wake you up, man.
Let's see if Nikki,
That was-
let's see if Nikki and you guys can describe this recurring dream with Robert. So after he passed away for like 10 years straight, we had a recurring dream. I'm going into a field. You guys have seen his grave. So there's that one tree, just like if you're standing in front of his
Big
grave,
ass tree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one big ass tree right there, right? So I see a tombstone with his name on it. That tree, what's it called? But it's got no leaves on it, right? And I'm walking toward this tombstone. There's just a spotlight just right on that tombstone. I can see his name on there, and I'm hearing whispers as I'm walking toward it, right? I don't know if you guys were there the day he had passed away. When I get up to his tombstone, the whispers stop, and then all of a sudden Robert's behind me, and he looks exactly the same way he did the last night that I saw him before he passed away. He looks exactly full, like even in the hospital gown and everything. Yellow eyes and everything, all that crap. And all he says in my ear is, "Don't fail me." He slits my throat. End scene.
What? This is a recurring dream?
This was a reoccurring dream for like almost 10 years.
That's
And
terrifying.
even
This podcast is going to turn.
Nikki is just like,
Wow, that's terrifying.
That's way more morbid than mine.
yes.
Yeah.
Way more.
We figured out his.
Right.
That was the
That's
apnea.
what
But I don't know about yours.
I don't know what's going on with my dream.
I wear a mask now, so I haven't seen him in a
At least nobody else is naked.
Right.
Yeah, no, those are wild dreams. So I would say the one where you're like in the courtyard. So there's like so many different things with dreams, right? You can just be working out, your daily life stuff. You can be working out stressors or like worst case scenario situations. Whereas Han, I feel like that would be yours, especially because it's reoccurring. You can also have visitations from past loved ones and spirits, which sounds like that could have been that too. And you can also astral project in dreams. So I feel like that's like a lot there. Hans, I feel like yours is kind of like your brain acting out like worst case scenario fears. If it's recurring, I wouldn't say like that's a visitation from him and he wants to slit your throat, because that's like
No.
terrifying.
Mine was just a one-time deal. And I'd like
yeah, I would say yours is like, yeah, I like to keep it that way. Yeah. Like a visitation, astral projection kind of thing. And also like spirit on the other side, there's not really the same sense of time. So for him to like say like, see you soon, I don't think it meant like you're passing away like right there, then and there from your sleep apnea. Yeah. But yeah, I think, I've had dreams like with my grandmother, my grandparents, and they're like, we're with you all the time, and we're like, we'll see you, we're there. And I think it's like spirit's way of just being like, we're still with you. Like, I'll see you soon. Like, I'm around, not like you're going to die soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah, no, those are, yeah. I don't think that's what he was saying. And no, dreams are like such crazy things to like, it is like one of those rabbit hole things that you could just kind of like dive in for forever and like research and interpret and share. It's just so interesting, the things that happen when we're sleeping. There's just like, it's such a mystery because no one really knows. Even to this day, people still don't really know, why we dream or like why these things happen.
Those things so literal.
Yes. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
But he better not
exactly.
come roundhouse his ass.
Go back to love to
God
see you
bless
again,
him.
bro, but
God
not
bless him,
today.
but yeah, hopefully on the road, down there on the road. But yeah,
what's really interesting is when I first talked to Nikki, we all kind of go on, I guess use Instagram to reach out to see who would like to join us or all or whatever. That's kind of my conduit. And I was just looking around and just what's going on in Berwyn, and I saw Ahimsa, and then I saw your page, and there was like tarot readings and all this. And at the time, I was really interested in like dream interpreter, And I remember
Mhm.
asking if you knew a dream interpreter, and you're like, "Oh no, I don't know of any." But I saved your profile, and here we are talking about dreams, and you sound like you're pretty good at interpreting dreams. You know what I mean? You're doing all right.
Yes, I've gotten better since you asked us. So yeah, we first connected like many months ago,
Yeah.
and I mean, I still wouldn't say I'm a dream interpreter, but I've done a lot more research about dreams because they are just so fascinating. Yeah,
therapy
they are so
helps with
interesting,
that too.
and the therapy, yeah, the psychology behind it, and all of that too definitely helps.
Yeah, and then I guess also your tarot card reading and all that, you kind of base it off of images. And what are dreams other than, just images while you're sleeping, and you kind of just
Yeah.
take little symbols and feelings from that, and kind of I thought that was really cool that you were interpreting right now. I was like, oh,
The
Yeah, I
best,
know.
he's doing it.
I think I had an astro. Now that we're talking about astral projection, I just thought about it, and I think I had a similar experience because I when I worked for this company, I was traveling a lot at the time. I don't work for them anymore, but I was out. I think I was in California or something like that, and I lived in a garden apartment underneath my aunt in her building, and I remember falling asleep, and in my dream, I could literally see my apartment door. I went through my door. I could see my place. And I remember feeling very terrified. I was like, holy shit, how did I end up here? I never left. I thought I was in California. And then I could look outside the window and I could see the whole street. It was dark. Had the street lamp on, everything. I saw it all. And then the next thing I remember was I saw my aunt on the stairs. I said, hey, how did I get here? She goes, what are you talking about? You need to stop smoking weed. And then I woke up. And I was just nervous because I thought, I was like, shit, I got to get back to California. I got somewhere to be. And then that's
Then you woke up, you're like, fuck, I gotta stop.
yeah. I was like, holy shit. Yeah, but yeah, I probably had that.
You probably died again.
No, yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I'm glad
I wear a mask now.
I'm glad
I
you
wear a
taking
mask
care
now.
of it. Yeah,
Yeah, so it was. I thought I'm pretty sure I protected myself somewhere.
that's so cool, man. I also like.
I think we do that all the time.
I've never
Yeah.
experienced something like that, like an astral projection.
What's that show on Netflix? They just based it off of a DC character.
No, not
Dr.
Sandman.
Sleep?
Sandman.
Sandman.
Sandman. That's like
Which is a good comic, by the way.
yeah, it's a good comic. That has a lot to do with dreams, and the Sandman ends up dying, or like they capture him for all these years, and all those kids die in their sleep and stuff. And yeah, that was a good show. I don't know where I was going to go with that, but other than that, it was a good show.
No, I thought the show was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, with astral projection, there's like this crazy theory that it's the thought that we can all do this when we're sleeping, right? When we're, unconscious and our soul just does different things. It can travel different places. And a lot of times people don't remember their dreams. So you guys are probably all astral projecting in your sleep and just like not remembering it. But I don't know if you guys have ever experienced sleep paralysis, and it's a thought that like I have as well. Like your spirit astral projected in its sleep, like it does, but then you woke up before it came back, and so like your body's like in this state of shock where it can't move, and that's like where that sleep paralysis comes from. So interesting.
Now, Nikki, it can't be like all work. So, like, what do you do like just to unwind, other than doing your own like yoga, meditating? What do you guys do? I mean, are you gonna travel? What do you got going on for the 23?
Yes, a lot of travel. I love travel. Travel is like a spiritual thing for me. So yeah, I got a few trips last year. We went to Italy and we went to France and Amsterdam a different time of the year. Next week I'm going to Puerto Rico.
Nice.
Later in the year I'm going to Prague, and me and my best friend are going to Salem. She is really into witchy stuff too, so we're going to Salem to celebrate graduating. Yeah, travel is like the one thing I spend most of my money on.
It's great.
That's the way you should do it.
Yeah.
Telling stories, adventures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just like so eye-opening to see how other people live and to connect with other people and to see other places. It like reminds you, like I think in a really good way how insignificant you can be sometimes, or like how small your life is, and it reminds you just to like enjoy it. For me, that's what it does. It's like you're just like this one little person in this one little body in the middle of Chicago, and there's always other people doing all these different things, and live your life because like that's all you got. So yeah.
Astrology. Are you into like astrology and like the different periods of the seasons and all that? What can you tell us about like this year? You do anything like that where you say, well, this year, people got to look out for this, or I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm super into astrology. I'm not an astrologer, but I feel like I know enough to be dangerous. So lots of different things for this year, for 2023. So we're in a 7-year. So to figure that out, you add up 2, 0, 2, 3, that equals 7. And 7 in numerology and astrology is a number of reflection and tuning inward and connecting. So it's this idea of, we were just in a 6-year in 2022. 6 years all about relationships and looking at your interactions with other people and what is that really telling you? Where do you need to be more compassionate? Where can you show yourself more love? When can you show other people more love? Where do you need to set boundaries? And so this year is kind of like riding on that same idea, but now really taking it inward and reflecting and reviewing and charging up, because next year is an 8-year. So next year is really going to like hit the ground running. Lots of different movement, lots of different things going on, which I kind of feel like makes sense with how like the pandemic has been. This year is still kind of, while things are going on, people are still like moving kind of slow. Things are still kind of revving up. People are still nervous about doing things. So this year is about reflecting. In tarot, it's the number 7 equals the Chariot. So it's this year of like feeling that motivation energy come back. And that definitely resonates with me. I feel like these past few years, like I said, have been like messy and confusing and really uncertain in a lot of ways. And so this year is like, all right, how can I get my energy back? How can I get my inspiration back? Where do I want to go? What can I do? And being reminded that you can really take charge of your life. But being able to do that really comes from like that inward focus of going in, reflecting, and getting certain about where you want to go. What else is going on this year? There's a lot of stuff going on. Pluto is moving into a new sign. It's moving into the sign Aquarius, and Pluto, I think, moves every 17 years. Or maybe it's 28. Pluto is like the slowest moving planet. So it takes a long time. So it's been in one sign for a long time. And now it's moving to a different place. That just means there's going to be a lot of different ways that you're going to be transforming, a lot of different growth, a lot of shedding, a lot of letting go. It's a sign of like power and transformation and death. So what is being released? How are you taking your power back? Where do you deserve more power? Once again, there's like that idea of like setting boundaries, finding your power, and how are you growing? How are you transforming? So that's happening this year as well. And then Saturn is moving into Pisces, and it's been in Aquarius for the last 3 years. So again, like a lot of different shifts, a lot of planets that have been in one place for years are shifting in 2023. So it's just going to be a kind of a big year of upheaval, of change, of transformation. All those things.
What do they say about Aries? I'm intrigued.
Aries.
You're gonna be naked.
What do you say? I'm gonna be naked?
You're gonna be
Don't take your
naked.
clothes off.
So Aries. Aries is really about being like really independent. So first off, before I go into Aries, we have like our sun sign, but we also have all of our other signs. We have like our moon sign, our rising sign, Venus sign, Mercury. So there's like a lot of different things that are within us just besides our sun sign. So if you're an Aries sun and you have other placements, then this might not resonate 100% with you. Mm-hmm. But Aries, I have a lot of Aries in my life. Aries can be quite fiery, very initiatory. They can be very independent. They're kind of like the youth of astrology. They're the very first sign of astrology. So they can be very playful, very, very driven, just like kind of like go after exactly what they want without any regard sometimes of the consequences or other people. But very, very fun. It's a fire sign. And they're like really driven, very motivated, very independent.
Mm-hmm. Wow,
yeah.
Thank you.
What about Scorpio?
Scorpio. All right. Scorpio is a water sign, even though it seems like it would be a fire sign. Scorpios can be very, very deep and very sensitive. And so it's interesting that you have dreams about water, because water is a sign of intuition and emotions and that's what Scorpio is all about, like really going to those depths. And also like you talking about like astral projection, like Scorpio is such a sign of intuition and like that inner magic. So I love that like you do these things in your sleep and you don't even know it. Yeah, Scorpios they can be quite prickly. So they're like your ride or die person. So they will have your back. They can be so loyal, but like if you betray them or break their trust, then they're like gonna sting you. They can hold grudges if we're looking at like the low vibe of Scorpio. But yeah, I think Scorpios can have a bad rap because, the sign of the Scorpion, but Scorpios are often like really like ride or die, like really loyal people that like will have your back to the end unless you wrong them.
That is very accurate.
Good, I'm glad.
Taurus.
I have quite a few Taurus in my life too. Okay, so Taurus, they are very, very grounded. They can be very stubborn. So a Taurus is I believe it's the bull or the ram. Bull. And so bull, thank you. So yes, they very, very stubborn, very like big homebody energy, like want to be like around their things. They like financial abundance or material abundance, and like not like in a bad way, because like we all need money and all these things to live our lives, but like they really like enjoy being in that place. They can kind of be a little bougie if we're looking at the low vibe.
Hans is definitely bougie.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if you're bougie. I have Taurus people in my life that are really, really bougie, but yeah, like really, really grounded, really stubborn, really about like the physical stuff. So like if we're talking about love languages, a Taurus, their love language might be like touch, things like that, like very much being in the physical world.
Okay, what about Pisces? I'm a Pisces.
Pisces. So I believe Saturn is moving into Pisces this year. So if you have a sun there, you might have like some big shifts, just so you know, in 2023, and like your identity and how you show up in the world. But Pisces can be quite sensitive as well. They can be a little like wishy-washy. It's like, I think it's the sign is 2 fish. So they're really about like going at the flow, but then because there's 2 there can be this duality and uncertainty. They're also a water sign, so they can be very, very in tune and connected to their emotions and sensitive, very, very loving. But yeah, that uncertainty and this like not knowing can be the low vibe of a Pisces. I'm trying to think what else with the Pisces. They can also be like quite whimsical. They can kind of like go down the rabbit hole, like really like want to like get really deep into things and just like run with it. Yeah, Pisces is kind of like you're like, that's it. They're kind of a harder energy to pin down because they're the last sign of the zodiac. So they're like the oldest one. So there's like a lot of complexities with the Pisces versus like Aries is like, you kind of like can feel in Aries because they're very fiery. They're very youthful. They're very young. Whereas Pisces, not to say like they're like old energy, but like they're a little more wise. They carry that like wisdom. Yeah, they can be a little harder to really feel their energy.
All right. One last thing. I know we gotta get going soon. Is there a way we could get a tarot reading for the podcast for like SOS?
Yeah, like for you four or for like the community of people
for this project that we got going.
All right. Yes. Okay.
That's
yes,
fine.
we can.
No death cards though.
No.
Note how nervous Carlos got.
Only pull the good ones. Use the good deck.
Oh my gosh. I will let you guys pick. So I have 3 decks. I have these 2. I have a pink one, a darker one, and then a light blue one. Is there one that any of you guys really want me to pick from?
We got blue in our color.
Yeah, we got blue and red. All right, so let's go with
All
blue.
right. Okay.
Is that a Rider White deck by any chance?
Yes, the Rider Waite Smith. Yeah. I'm sure there's a Pokemon version. There's a tarot version for like literally everything.
There is.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many tarot decks.
I've seen one.
Yeah, I've seen like a Sailor Moon tarot deck.
No shit.
I've seen Harry Potter. Like there's so many tarot decks.
Wouldn't it be crazy if they had like an NBA like player tarot card and it was like Jordan stepping over Bird and he's the death part, like he's killing their careers.
Right. That's the
Yeah. Drexler's on the ground.
All And you guys want like just guidance for the SOS project?
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, just so we don't take the
Yeah,
time
keep
to
it real
do
surface level. I don't need any.
Carlos doesn't. He's really.
You hurt my dreams. I don't need to go there anymore.
We talked already.
Yeah. Okay.
This is exciting.
Okay. So I pulled 3 cards here. I can't wait to show you guys. So the first one is the 3 of Pentacles. The second one is the Devil card. We were just talking about this. And then the third one is the Queen of Swords. All right. Okay, so first things first, 3 of Pentacles. This card is really all about allowing every single person that is involved in your project to step forward with their own unique gifts. So kind of just trusting that like you guys are collaborating together and not letting other things, not letting those things like where you might butt heads, let that get in the way of things. So with the 3 of Pentacles, it's like, as you can see in the picture, there's 3 different people standing here. There's actually 4 different people standing here looking, and they're all working on building something together. So this kind of like signifies the start of your podcast. You guys have all come together. You're working on this. You're bringing your own unique gifts. And this is kind of a reminder to not compare or judge or diminish each other's gifts. Like really hold space for what everyone's bringing because you guys came to do this together. Don't let some of those prickly things get in the way as you guys move forward. When there are disagreements, remember why the 4 of you guys are working on this together. And with the Devil card and the Queen of Swords here, this is also saying that, when there are things that are coming up, if there are any challenges, remember that you have the power to change that. If you look at the Devil card, again, another really misinterpreted card, you can see that there are chains around both of the people's necks and the Devil's watching over them, but the chains are really, really loose. The people could easily slip the chains off, but they choose for whatever reason not to. So it's like this card of like holding yourselves back in some sort of way and needing to realize that you have the power to break away from that. I also feel called to say, like, watch out for any, it feels like maybe one person might let their own ego, their own selfish needs get in the way. And once again, this 3 of Pentacles here is saying, remember why you came together, work with each other. Don't forget the support that all of you guys bring to each other, because that's going to be really important. And don't allow your own selfish ideas get in the way of the podcast's vision, the whole project that you guys are coming together for. There's going to be something that really needs you guys to be really brutally honest with each other. There's that energy of like needing to set boundaries, of being very, very clear and expressing what that vision is to each other and being able to remind each other what that is. So know that like this energy is very much about you guys coming together and not letting those things get in the way of what you guys are here to do. It feels like you guys have so much stuff to express and to share with other people, but keep an eye out on like where your own personal selfish ideas or needs might get in the way of the project or each other. And when those things are there, with the Queen of Swords here, it's like a card of like brutal honesty. It's saying, don't be afraid to express that to each other. Don't be afraid to ask for support. Like you were saying, if you need someone to come over and like watch your kids or do your dishes, don't be afraid to like rely on each other in that way. Speak up for what you need and express yourself. It feels very much like things are really, really good, but this year might bring some sort of challenge. I'm going to pull one more card. Some sort of challenge that makes you guys kind of like question why like one person might be there, and just keep sticking with each other, keep going, keep creating, and coming back to each other. And then last card I pulled is from an angel deck. It says surrender and release. So it's just kind of reminding that, while we can try to control everything, at the end of the day, you really can't. We have so little control over most things in our life. So where can you like let go? Where can you surrender? And when things do get challenging, can you remember that like everything is, an ebb and a flow. So just like in life, relationships have that same like things are going really well and flowing, and then there's a sticky spot that you kind of have to just keep going and work through and trust that it's not going to make or break you. It's going to make you stronger at the end of the day when you guys can continue to collaborate and rely on each other.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
No problem. Yeah, no scary stuff.
We're sweating there.
Yeah.
I know it was really quiet for a second.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already pale, and I was going to see through there. Well, we want to say thank you so much for taking time out. I know you're on a tight schedule, so we're going to wrap it up here right now for you. Good luck in your travel. Have a good, safe trip. I learned a lot from you today. Hopefully, we'll have you back on the show sometime in the future.
Definitely.
Is there anything you'd like to plug before we wrap it up?
First, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. Like, I'm so honored that you guys wanted me on your podcast. And this was like such a fun conversation. I feel like, this is like just the tip of the iceberg. We could have talked about all these things for so much longer. I like really, really appreciate the space. But if people want to connect with me, they can find me on my website, www.nikkirenfromartinez.com, or on Instagram, Nikki Renfroe Tarot. And I hope to stay connected. And this was so much fun.
Thank you, Nikki.
It was great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the pod or show, watching the podcast. Ooh, it's been a little rusty there with the closing. Episode 19, 2023, big things to come. You can follow us as well as Podcast 4 on Instagram. You want to plug your IG or page?
Unicorn in Human Form.
Woobs_SOS.
Hans Rotansky everywhere except for Truth or Parlor.
Arkham 2442. Give us a follow. Follow the page mainly. Show us a little support, love. You like the channel? Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.